Now, one of my goals for this channel has always been, and still is, to encourage new tyers to get into the sport. I don't care if you're 10 years old or 70 years old. If I can encourage somebody to put some fur and feathers on a hook and have fun doing it, then I'm achieving my mission. Now, I've got a pretty cool story about a new tyer. I think you're going to like it. Stick around. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Savage Flies. I'm Matt. Thanks for stopping by. Now, the tyer I'm talking about is Edward Chavez, and he's been one of the longtime subscribers to the channel. And why I think this is an interesting story is Edward's birthday is tomorrow, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I will. He's turning 62 years old. Now, I think Edward started watching the channel right after he started tying, and he started leaving comments on the videos. I think he's gone back and watched every video. We've emailed back and forth a few times, and let me tell you, he would send me pictures of flies that he's tied, and way back in the early days, he would send me some crazy concoctions. But, gradually over the next couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, he started sending me some pictures of really cool looking flies, really well tied patterns. And some of them I would just look at and say, wow, Edward, you really tied this thing? This is amazing. So Edward's been tying less than a year, but in that time, he's become a really good tyer, certainly a friend of the channel. I like the dialogue we have back and forth. And I wanted to mention this story because if there's anybody out there who's watching this thinking about getting into tying, but maybe they're saying, I don't know if I want to start a new hobby. I'm getting too old for this. No, you're not getting too old for it. I say, go out there, buy a kit. A lot of people will tell you, fly tying kits, they're junk. And a lot of them are. But hey, I don't care. Go online, get a kit. If it gets you putting materials on a hook and having fun, then go for it. And if there's anything I'm doing on this channel that will encourage somebody to do that, then I'm pretty excited about that. Now, okay, about today's fly. Just a couple of days ago, Edward sent me a picture and said, hey, look, this is the first bucktail I've ever tied. What do you think about it? And I thought it was a really cool looking pattern. The color combination was really well done. I did have to make one change because I didn't have a peacock tinsel that he used, so I'm using some regular peacock herl for it. But other than that, Edward came up with what I think is a really cool pattern. And he did tie it on a streamer hook. I'm going to put it on a salmon fly hook, but I think it works just as well on a streamer or as a salmon or a smallmouth bass fly, which is pretty much what I think I'm going to be using it for this year. Now, do me a favor, if you're one of the viewers who routinely leaves comments on here, please do that today. Just leave a comment, tell Edward what you think about his fly, maybe tell him happy birthday. I know he'll get a big kick out of that. And I think he came up with a pretty cool pattern. I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a shot. So there you go in the vise, Edward's torch. Now, I'm tying this on a size 8 salmon steelhead hook. I think it would work just as well on a streamer hook. But I'm stepping it up a little bit. I'm going to be using this as a smallmouth bass kind of fly. And I'm going to use black thread. I did try it with a hot spot, and I think the black looks just a little bit better. And one thing to note on these salmon fly hooks, you see that bent over, the bend on the eye? You got a little step down right there. Normally I would fill that up with thread, but I'm not going to in this case because we've got an oval tinsel, and we can use that to fill in that little lump. So put a base down, back to where you're going to start your body, and then we can take it back up here to where we're going to catch in this oval tinsel. Now this is a size medium. See this right here? I'm going to catch it in right behind where that bend over in that hook is, and I'm going to use this to try to smooth out this little lump. See that? I should be able to now just have a smoother transition between where that hook bent over and the shank. Now I'll just catch this in parallel to my hook going all the way back. Okay, that right there is about where I'm going to start the body, but I'm not done wrapping this rib because I'm going to use the same piece for a tag here on the end, and I want about 4 wraps. So I'm going to go an extra 2 or 3 millimeters down, and then take my thread back up right here. Might have to back it off just a little bit, but I'm going to put 4 wraps right here right next to each other. Try not to have any black showing underneath. If you end up with some, that's all right. But just taking my time here and putting these right next to each other. And I'm going to do 4. I think 4 is going to look good. You could probably do 5, I would say. That one is wanting to jump up on me. Okay, that is 4 right there. And I think that looks pretty good. So back this thread off right here. Even one more turn right there. Now catch this in. And I'm going to try and catch this in toward the bottom. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You'll see in a minute. So I see I've caught that in toward the bottom of the hook. And that might make a little bit of a difference in just a minute. So let's take our thread back up to about the halfway point. Let's tie in some orange wool yarn. Or you could use a dubbing if you want. But I've got orange yarn. That was a 4-strand. And I just split it up into... split it. And then I'm going to use 2 of the strands. Because I want a fairly thin back half of this fly. So I'll catch this in, about the halfway point, I think. Might be a little farther up than half, but we'll be fine right there. So bring this in. I don't want it to be too much on top of the hook. So, all right, that looks fine. Take a thread back up here to where we're going to in this orange part of the body. And why I wanted this rib tied off on the bottom was that so hopefully I can put a wrap, my first wrap of this wool right behind that rib. And then when I start wrapping the rib, it won't look like it's just coming out of nowhere. It'll look like it's coming out from the underside of the hook. Now, I'm not always successful doing that, but we'll see how it turns out. Just go ahead and finish wrapping your body up here to the midpoint where your thread is hanging. Now we'll catch this off with a couple of tight wraps right there. Now let's take 2 or 3 strands of peacock herl. I'm going to use 2. I think 2 is fine. The last one I did, I used 2 and it was bulky enough. But if you think you wanted to get a little bit more bulk to it, go ahead and use 3. I'm sure that's fine. Use 4 if you want. Do whatever you want. All right, let's take that back just a little bit more. So we have roughly half the body orange and then the front half peacock herl. And actually I want to leave this thread at about halfway just in case this starts spreading out on me. That thread right there will help keep these herl strands together. And I should have used 3 on this one just to get it a little bit thicker. But I think we'll be fine. Let's go ahead and catch this herl off right here. 2 or 3 tight wraps. Now we can snip this. Now we're going to wrap this rib. And I'm going to just wrap it over and then under and evenly spaced. How many wraps you want, it's totally up to you. Whatever you think looks good. I think that wide about right there is going to look okay. And then you'll want to take it all the way up through your herl too. And you might mat some of this down. Don't worry about it if you do. I did not cut a very long piece of this tinsel. So, shame on me. I needed at least another ½ inch right here, but I'll make it work. Just have to put this wrap on with my left hand. 2 wraps. And there we go. Talk about not wasting any. I didn't really waste any right there. Now this is soft tinsel, so you do have to snip it. You can't helicopter it off. And a couple extra wraps right here. And there's our body. Now, the fun part, the bucktail part of this guy. It's going to be brown or natural under orange. So I'm not going to stack this. I don't think this natural would stack very well anyway. I just pulled some really long ones out, and I usually cut about 1.5 times as much as I need. That way I can thin it out and be left with how much I want. So this brown part, a little bit longer than the hook, and then we're going to do the orange one just a little bit longer than that. So the very top is going to be the longest piece. And I'll do this little trick here where I put one wrap just around the hair and then come down before I tighten it. That way it will probably keep this one from spinning. That helps it to do that. So now we're good. I like that position. Let's go ahead and put an extra wrap or two to just lock it in before we snip this off. And one of the things that make tied on these salmon fly hooks a little harder is you got that up eye right there. So you kind of have to work your scissors in here and then snip this off just, a few at a time if you need. It's a little bit shaggy, but we're going to be able to clean that with our head. So a few extra wraps right here just to put that base down. Now let's put this bright orange. And again, this one I cut out probably 1.5 times as much as I need. I'll pull out some of the really long ones with my fingers, grab it close to the end, and then thin it out again until I get about the amount I want. And this is straight enough. I could stack this, but I don't want to. I want it to be just a little bit natural and shaggy. And this one, it's just a little bit longer than the brown underneath. I want to just tie it in with a pinch wrap. And if this one spins around on me a little bit, that's okay. I think that looks good, actually. So there we go with that. Now I've only got about 3 wraps on it. If I brought this up to cut it, it would probably cause that to spin. So I'm going to put a couple more tight wraps right here. And without breaking my thread, now I should be able to reach in here and cut this pretty close without any of this spinning around on me. Okay, didn't get them all, but pretty close. Okay, it's a little bit shaggy right there. Let's see if I can snip a few of these just to make my head a little bit cleaner. But we can spin some thread wraps making that head clean right there. So hold this, now take it right back to your eye, and we'll build a little base and then a little ramp to capture all these butt ends in. And with any, salmon fly, big smallmouth fly, big streamer fly like this, don't be afraid if you get a big head, and it's going to be fine. Sometimes you actually want a bigger head. So I think we're fine with that right there. I'm going to go ahead and whip finish it. Probably 4 turns is fine. So I'm going to put a big drop of UV resin and get a nice shiny glossy head. So could do a little bit of cleanup. There's a little bit of fuzz right there, but I'm not going to worry about it. I think this is going to be fine. It's going to go in my box just like this. So there you go, Edward's torch. I think it's a pretty cool looking pattern. I think this is going to do well here for me. So I appreciate you watching, everybody. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.